What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, obviously, Fortnite has been ticking along for almost 5 years now, which is pretty crazy. So I thought we'd use this time to go back through every single previous Fortnite season and rank it to create a tier list from most epic to least epic. Now, look, obviously, there's a whole lot of criteria in terms of how we can judge these. Everything from like the personal nostalgia that we're gonna have for a lot of those really OG Chapter 1 seasons, all the way to the kind of content that got added, to also just how much it redefined the game and Fortnite's popularity generally within the gaming community. But all right, without further ado, we're gonna jump in. We're gonna kick off with Fortnite Season 1. And as we go through this, make sure you let me know in the comments down below if you've got any that you strongly agree or disagree with. But guys, just before we get into it, I've teamed up again with Loot Boy to give away a whole bunch of V-Bucks, as well as tell you about their amazing app. Now, Loot Boy is available for free on Android, iOS, App Gallery, or on PC. And you can collect loot coins to open up free loot packs. Now, there are 2 ways to open these premium loot packs, either with diamonds, which you can earn for free, or you can just pay to unlock them. Now, I obviously didn't have that much time to get diamonds today, so we're just gonna pay to unbox a few while I'm telling you more about this amazing app. Now, in these premium packs, you can get golden cards, which are a code for a full game on Steam or Steam credits. And honestly, some of the games you get are pretty amazing. And if all this wasn't good enough, I'm also teaming up with Loot Boy to give away 13,500 V-Bucks. All you have to do is sign up to Loot Boy and comment down below with your Loot Boy username, and you're going to be entered into the draw to win 13,500 V-Bucks. So check out Loot Boy using the link at the top of the description, and when you sign up, use the code MUSEL to get a free community loot pack with diamonds, loot coins, and so much more. But all right, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, now a lot of people don't actually remember there was a Season 0 before Season 1, but Season 1 was when the game really actually started to gain its popularity. We got the Ghoul Trooper, we got the Skull Trooper, and most importantly, I think, we also got the Pumpkin Launcher. Season 1 was almost the Halloween update. Now, obviously, in terms of overall content, these early seasons were honestly not that impressive. We didn't really get like any or many map changes at all. And then on top of that, the total items we'd get added were not that many. But because everything was new back then, I feel like Epic didn't need to add items. And because of that, this season just felt so incredible. Whether it was people figuring out that you could rocket ride for the very first time and all those clips going viral, taking over the internet, people abusing the absolute crap out of things like double pumping, or just watching the 1 or 2 people in the entire world at that time who actually knew how to do half decent building just blow everyone's minds. I feel like this was the season where people really started to realize the kind of crazy things that were actually possible and that people were figuring out in the game. I definitely wasn't that cracked at this time, but I feel like mainly because of all the nostalgia this season gave me, not necessarily because of what was in it. We gotta put Season 1 at a B tier. This was pretty high on the list in terms of Fortnite enjoyment. All right, next up, Fortnite Season 2. Now, this season actually brought a bunch of maybe not as crazy items as things like the RPG, but items that I actually think were just way healthier for the game. I reckon the best one we got in Season 2 was definitely the mini shield. Totally redefined the healing system in this game. And also, obviously, it was also the first season with a battle pass, which for some reason just made the entire game feel like this absolutely crazy community. I don't know what it was, but everyone running around in the same skins, awing over the fact that someone had a tier 100 skin, or just generally the fact that this was probably the time where Fortnite was going mega mainstream, made Season 2 feel kind of incredible. Then later on in the season, we also started getting our first like crazy weapons like the minigun. And around this time was also when I was getting the confidence to start doing my first kind of like really dumb meme strap videos. And obviously, a lot of them would still fail, but there was still some pretty amazing moments all through Season 2. Now, again, in terms of overall content, I'm still going to be chucking it at B tier alongside Season 1. The world was slowly realizing just how good this game was, and it kind of felt at this point like the momentum behind the game was just unstoppable. And that brings us to Season 3. All right, now Season 3 in terms of map changes, unlike Season 2 where we got tilted, Season 3 we kind of got some pretty boring places like Lucky Landing. But we also got some pretty iconic items added to the game. Loot llamas started appearing. We also got the legendary hunting rifle, which obviously one of the all-time greats. We got the hand cannon, which when it first got added, I'm pretty sure could break wooden builds in a single shot, meaning people were just using it to breach boxes, get wall control, and that thing was just a total menace. And then speaking of menaces, towards the end of the season, they added the guided missile launcher. And this, honestly, one of the dumbest things I've ever added to the game. For a while, it felt like it was just ridiculously OP, although I think that was largely because people just didn't know how to play the game back then. But I think my favorite thing about the guided missile launcher was some of the like self-rocket ride insanity people were pulling off with it. And a lot of you probably haven't seen this video. I actually managed to ride my own guided missile rockets all the way from one side of the map to the other, going up and up and up, even higher than the rifts that were in the sky at the time. It was one of the craziest, most insane things I've ever attempted, and honestly, it's kind of awesome. Now, if I actually break it down, when it comes to the content that was in this season, it was pretty average, and I'd probably put it at D tier in terms of my overall feelings about Season 3, but this was the season where they started to bring in the Fortnite story. The meteor appeared in the sky, and a few other teasers started to happen. So because of that, I'm gonna give it C tier. The content wasn't as mind-blowing as what we'd had in the past and what we were gonna get in the future. But in terms of the fact that it started to bring in some pretty fun items and also the amazing Fortnite story that started to develop, Season 3 was pretty damn good. Man, it's so hard to hate on any of these OG seasons. All right, Fortnite Season 4. This is one of my all-time favorites. This was obviously the superhero-themed season. It was also when the meteor came down and smashed into the middle of the map. This is when the Fortnite map just started to go insane with changes. Obviously, giant crater in the middle, destroyed half of Dusty Depot. We had secret bases appearing all over the map that the superheroes and the villains were in. We had rifts appearing all over the place. And then also this season had the addition of some of the most legendary items we've ever had. Things like the shopping cart, the jetpack, and at the time, what was the most ridiculously broken drum gun. And then this season already had so much content, and right when we thought it couldn't get better, they added in the Infinity Gauntlet game mode. It's probably the first huge collab that we ever got to see Fortnite do. And while the mode was definitely far from perfect, seriously, watching every single person in the lobby try and pick up the Infinity Gauntlet when it came down was so frustrating. But this was honestly one of the points, I think, when people realized the insane hype of what Epic was trying to do here, and definitely set the game up for its much, much bigger future. And then on top of all that, the narrative elements in this season just took it to the absolute next level. It wasn't so much that what we got in this season was necessarily better than anything we've got since, but this was just the season where all of this stuff was new. Constant map changes were all new, the narrative was new, and it just created this huge hype in the community. Everyone grinding to get the full lights on the Omega skin. I don't know what it was. This was the season that has some of the best vibes of any Fortnite season for me. It's going all the way at S tier. I think there is maybe one other season that is going to make it to S tier, but Season 4 has definitely got to be one of them for me. All right, now Season 5. I feel like Season 5 was kind of riding off the coattails of Season 4. It was all that hype around the narrative, what else was going to happen. Now, it was honestly pretty awesome the way it was rifting in all these different POIs and places from different worlds. The giant Viking boat on top of the mountain. We also had some of the best like item ads again this season. Things like the golf cart, our first ever like drivable vehicle. We also got the heavy sniper, the grappler, the shockwave grenades. This season definitely had some of the best items added to the game. I don't think the narrative was quite as hype. It was almost a little bit too crazy. People literally had no idea what was going on. But crucially, we got the cube this season, and I did have a lot of fun messing with that thing. And it was also amazing watching how confused everyone was getting, trying to figure out what the hell that thing was doing as it rolled around the map. Ultimately, I think this season I'm gonna have to put it C tier. It didn't have quite as much power as Season 1 or 2 in terms of how redefining it was. And Season 4 was almost so amazing that anything coming after it, I feel like was always just going to be a little bit of a letdown. Time for Season 6. I feel like this was the season where Epic had kind of gotten a little bit too carried away because of how well everything had gone so far. This season is definitely, I'd say, the first like swing and miss in terms of they did so much stuff, so much new content. They really tried to go way out there in terms of what they did with the game. And it wasn't exactly right. I don't know if you guys remember, we got corrupted zones. They were spawning zombies everywhere, which were kind of cool at first, and then they just got super annoying. I also reckon this season had some of the worst items added to the game of anything. We got the chiller trap, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually use properly. We got the quad launcher, which again, not great. We did get the quad crasher this season, which is the one redeeming factor. But other than that, it was like the 6-shooter, the Fiend Hunter crossbow, the totally broken mounted turret. Seriously, as soon as you got one of those things, it was basically a free win. And then also dynamite. Almost none of the items in Season 6 were that good or fun. There was zombies all over the map. At this point, the storyline had almost gotten so crazy that no one really knew what was going on. Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, like, this could be a little bit harsh. I think I'm going to put Season 6 down at E tier. Like, yeah, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Season 6, E tier. That was the first season that I would say I didn't love. All right, now Season 7, which honestly initially does give me kind of similar vibes to Season 6. If you don't remember, this was a season where the giant iceberg came in, crashed into the bottom left-hand corner of the map, and basically changed that entire area of the map. We had the huge iceberg that had the monster inside it. We also got the addition of planes for the very first time. And for those of you who don't remember, I don't know what it is with Epic and adding broken vehicles, but those planes were pretty damn broken when they first got added to the game. They hit like absolute trucks. You didn't even have to aim that well. And if you couldn't even aim, you just ram them into people and it would probably eliminate them anyway. And talking about things that were broken in Season 7, we also got the Infinity Blade, which I think everyone would agree is probably the most broken thing that has ever existed in this game. In pubs, it was already ridiculous, let alone when people got it into competitive. Now, I feel like a bit of a redeeming factor is we did get Fortnite Creative at the start of Season 7, which was kind of the start of all these crazy custom creative things that we were able to experiment with. And honestly, by the end of the season, once they'd kind of nerfed the planes, they actually were one of my favorite things to mess around with. There were also some pretty fun items that got added. Things like the infantry rifle, not necessarily the most powerful, but man, that reload sound, oof, that would lull me to sleep every night. So with all that said, I don't know if I can put Season 7 up with some of those OG originals, but I do feel like it can maybe sit, you know what? I'm actually going to put it at D tier. Just the fact that the planes were so broken and they actually thought the Infinity Blade was a good idea. I feel like I can't put Season 7 at the same level as 3 and 5. It's going in D. All right, though. Now it's time for Season 8, which is definitely one of the weirdest seasons they've added to the game, but also one that I've definitely had so much fun with. Everything from the pirate cannons just being so dumb, but so ridiculous. We had buried treasure. We had the most useless item of all time ever, full stop, the bottle rockets. But then we also just got some insanely fun things. The baller was absolutely amazing to go around on, although totally broken in competitive. We got the flint knock pistol, which I think everyone will agree is one of the greatest weapons of all time. We got the boom bow, we got reboot vans, and obviously we got a giant freaking volcano, as well as a pirate ship. This had some of the best map changes of any season in a while. And with all that, they also had the geysers all over the map so you could rotate easily. This map definitely felt really, really good to me. And then if the content of the actual season wasn't good enough, we also got the end game LTM, where we literally got to become Avengers. I remember using like Captain America's shield. You could get Stormbreaker. We we totally broke the game with the Iron Man repulsors. And then obviously Thanos and his gauntlet was back. I don't know, this season felt like it had so much content, and most of the content was actually good. I probably ranked this season a bit higher than most people, but for me, Season 8 actually goes up at B tier. And honestly, if it wasn't for nostalgia pushing those other two up, I would put this one even higher. I'm also pretty sure we got Peely that season, which gives it even more bonus points. All right, Season 9. This is where the chapter really started going downhill. What did we get? We had the horribly broken combat shotgun that started the season off. I believe this was also the first time that they vaulted pump shotguns, which... oh god, the community loved that. I would say one of the only good things that really came out of this season was the loot drone areas, those high loot POIs that had bonus drones floating around. I kind of wish they'd bring that back. I thought that was a really, really cool addition to the game. But at the end of the day, it definitely wasn't enough to save this season. The slipstreams that they had going all around the map were super annoying. You'd be getting into a fight, you'd think you're about to eliminate someone, and then they would just jump into a slipstream and run away. And while it was kind of fun to use them to fly around the map and hunt people, it was also, again, annoying because you'd start hunting someone, they'd build into the slipstream and just run away. And then it turned into this stubborn battle of how long are they going to stay in the slipstream? You may as well probably just leave them. They also changed two of the best POIs in the game. Tilted became Neo-Tilted, and Retail Row became Mega Mall. And I don't think anyone would argue that it was an improvement for either POI. It just made them weirder and harder to navigate. Even the items we got this season really weren't that good. Storm Flip, useless. Revolver, don't think anyone ever used it. Airstrike, kind of looked cool, but very rarely got you elims. Storm Scout Sniper, again, interesting, also kind of useless. For me, this season was definitely an E tier swing and a miss. And honestly, that kind of swing and a miss is a really good preamble for the absolute legendary Season X. Now in Season X, Epic decided to really keep a lot of the things that we all hated about Season 9 and just start piling on top of it with even more. Neo-Tilted, it's staying. Mega Mall, it's staying. And if you didn't hate all that enough, now we're piling mechs on top of it. Obviously, this was the season when mechs entered the game, and my god, Epic clearly hadn't learnt their lesson after the Infinity Blade. These things were more broken than I think anything that they'd ever put in the game up to date. Honestly, just because of how common they were, and also because of how powerful they were. You know what, actually just everything. They were more broken than the Infinity Blade. If you saw one of these things, you don't shoot at them. You don't try to fight them. You go and hide in a bush and pray that the brute didn't see you. Now, on top of that, this season, we got some incredibly useless items. Things like the auto sniper, the zapper trap, and then we got one actual cool item, which was the Batman grapple gun. Now, one of the most controversial other things this season was the addition of all these unique zones. You had Old Tilted Town where you could only use Western weapons and you couldn't build. You had other areas that brought zombies back to the game. Or if you were really weird, you could go to Taco Town, where every now and again, you would just suddenly start dancing with tacos in your hands. I honestly think Epic ran out of ideas by that point. Now, I'm kind of different because I actually didn't totally hate those zones. I thought they made the game kind of interesting, but I am a content creator, so anything weird is kind of good for me. Obviously, at the end of the day, Season X did feel kind of insanely messy, but I can't put it all the way at the bottom because the end of season event, which I crashed and didn't get to experience, was without a doubt the single coolest event I think that Epic has ever done. And honestly, going into the map every single game with a giant meteor stuck in time floating over the map just felt awesome. I can't put it any higher than E, but I would feel wrong to put it all the way at F. Season 10, you're getting an E tier. And that is the end of Fortnite Chapter 1. All around, I would say an average B tier season. Obviously, the average rank probably actually pulls it a bit lower, but there was just so much good in Chapter 1, I've got to give it a higher rank. And all right, it's time to move on to Chapter 2, Season 1. All right, obviously, with the start of Chapter 2, Season 1, we got a brand new map. We got fishing, we got swimming, and honestly, I kind of loved this season. This season felt like a breath of fresh air. Season X felt like I was trapped in the bottom of a dirty rave house in the center of Berlin at 4 a.m. in the morning with a bunch of absolute lunatics surrounding me in every direction, screaming in my ear while blasting the most crazy techno that you have ever heard in your life. Chapter 2, Season 1 was me stepping out of that dirty Berlin club into a beautiful, cleansing, fresh air. The hundreds of items that had ended up in the game, all gone, all vaulted. We had 2 assault rifles, 2 shotguns, a sniper, and a pistol. It was so clean. The 18 different types of meds that had made it into the game by the end of Season X, gone, vaulted. We were back to minis, bigs, bandages, and medkits. Long story short, after the absolute insanity of Season X, Chapter 2 Season 1 got a lot of criticism for almost being too basic, but for me, after all that insanity, it was exactly what I needed. On top of that, also, it was an entirely new map, new mechanics to explore, new POIs. But with all that said, there were a couple of reasons why the rank of this season gets pushed down for me. Number 1, while having everything removed gave the game a beautiful, crisp feeling again, they also didn't really add anything cool or new. Nothing to really give the season its own strong, unique feeling. We did get lightsabers, which were pretty damn sick. But other than that, nothing really comes out. Then on top of all that, the season got extended for so long that by the end, I don't think I have ever been as bored playing Fortnite as I was at the end of Chapter 2 Season 1. So because of that, Chapter 2 Season 1 is actually going to be getting put all the way down in D tier for me. I did not love that season. It came in so strong, feeling so good, but by the end, I wanted to dive out of there and I would have leapt off a 50-story building to escape that place. And ultimately, when we did that, it landed us in Chapter 2, Season 2, which I think everyone will agree is goddamn epic. There is so much to love about Chapter 2 Season 2. The introduction of NPCs and bosses, each having their own unique item that you could then build your entire playstyle for a full round on. The idea of infiltrating bases, getting key cards, opening vaults, the tension of when you have a vault key card and you know there's gonna be some pesky little 12-year-old camping the vault trying to take it from you. The idea of being the pesky 12-year-old camping, waiting for the guy with the key card to come so you can ruin his day and steal it off him. Oh my God, all of that was amazing. On top of that, I feel like the characters that got built around all the characters felt so good, they felt so clean, they felt so fun. And with all of that, we also got a bunch of awesome map changes, each of them having their own unique bases. You had the Midas skin and the banana skin, which you could grind to upgrade all throughout. And then obviously on top of that, the actual items themselves were pretty good, mainly based on the fact that each character obviously had their own unique weapon. Chapter 2 Season 2, that one hit pretty hard. The only thing that's gonna stop me from dropping this all the way up at A tier is the fact that, again, like Season 1, they delayed the end of the season for weeks, meaning that by the time it actually got to the end of the season, it had dragged on a little bit too long. That said, the amount of new content made that not nearly as much of an issue. This one is going up at B tier. All right, Chapter 2 Season 3. Now this one, I'm gonna have some controversial opinions about, because I'm pretty sure whenever I've asked people, to my big surprise, a lot of people did not like this season. I thought this season was one of the coolest ever. The idea of having the entire map flood and then having the water level slowly fall meant that every single week it was like we got a brand new map. Everything was changing all the time. We had roaming marauder bands that would drop sick loot like hunting rifles. You could rotate around the map using whirlpools and geysers. And again, did I mention, it was like a brand new map every week and you could see what was coming and get excited about it. Now, obviously they did revolt pumps this season and give us the charged shotgun, which, my God, that is, I mean, it's an interesting weapon, but it just doesn't feel good. So there are a few points lost there. On top of that, we also got cars all the way at the end of the season, which obviously was kind of amazing. But yeah, when I really bring it back to it, this season hit pretty good for me. mainly just because of that constantly evolving map. And honestly, I know this isn't the last season that I'm gonna have a controversial opinion on. There's one more coming up that, oh god, the comment section is just gonna be not happy with me. Chapter 2, Season 3, you're going in C tier, mate. All right, Chapter 2, Season 4, Marvel has arrived, and oh my god, I remember when this season first dropped, everyone was like looking at the patch notes, they were looking at the map, and then everyone collectively said, is that it? There were like almost no changes made to the game, and on top of all that, there were almost no new items. Obviously, the big star of this season was all the mythics that paired up with each Marvel character, but most of these things didn't arrive until later, and the biggest map change of the entire season, which was the giant Stark POI, literally just landed into the game randomly a week or two in. Up until that point, people thought this was the most disappointing season of all time. Now, ultimately, if you really break it down, there still wasn't that much new content in the season. We did get a new mythic added every now and again. But once all the hype around like Stark's repulsor chest and a few of the other exciting ones wore off, I honestly didn't love most of these mythics at all. Most of them felt pretty damn useless. Again, aside from Stark's chest piece. But if you were trying to kill someone with Wolverine's claws, that was never going to go your way. Stick to a shotgun. The Mjolnir hammer cooldown was almost always pretty useless. It was pretty much you were using Groot's ball or Iron Man's mythics. Other than that, no one really used them at all. So yeah, ultimately, Season 4 I'm actually going to put down at D tier. Now, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that because this was a wildly popular season with a lot of people. But if I actually strip out all the hype around It's Marvel and really just think about what that season was, I don't feel like Epic did that much amazing stuff. And I almost feel like they got too distracted by bringing all the Marvel things into a game. We really didn't get any kind of Fortnite story progression or anything else that I felt really fit into what Fortnite was as a game. But that brings us to Chapter 2, Season 5. And I feel like this was a season where Epic found a way better balance of how to bring in other games, bring in other IP, but also make it still feel like Fortnite. We had the Mandalorian boss, so you could take out and get that amazing sniper rifle. We got the addition of bounties, which obviously felt amazing. The addition of gold that you could use to buy an upgrade. This season actually changed so much about the fundamental core gameplay. And on top of all that, it also had the most unfixed glitch of all time, the 0 point glitch. I was streaming this entire season, and I would open every stream by getting a guaranteed free, impossible to lose win by using the Mandalorian sniper and the jetpack to charge into the 0 point and just heal infinitely. I don't know what it is. Epic will fix some really dumb, not powerful glitches in a day, and then this one, which made it impossible to lose the game, they left in the game for literal months. Ultimately, this wasn't Fortnite's cleanest season. There was certain things like going underground in the sand, which broke almost immediately and had to get disabled. And there were other elements like, honestly, most of the map changes, which I didn't really love. The giant desert area in the center of the map just wasn't that fun to play around. But again, the addition of gold, the addition of bounties, and certain seasons just have this X factor, this feeling that just make them hype and exciting, and you feel like the whole community is behind it. And for me, Chapter 2, Season 5 definitely had that. I've got to put it above Season 4, but I also can't put it at Season 2. So I was going to go in C tier. All right, now who's ready for another controversial opinion? Chapter 2, Season 6. My God, have I never seen a season divide the community like this one. I was landing at risky reels all season, and my God, the number of people I saw just sitting there slowly pickaxing cars down to 20 health to try and get a couple of extra gears. Oh my God, I never need to see that again in my life. That said, as much as I don't think they totally nailed how crafting worked this season, it was a super interesting addition to the game, and it also came paired with what I gotta say is one of my all-time favorite additions to Fortnite, which is bows. I do not know what it was about bows. I could not miss headshots. And on top of that, the fact that you could combine them with shockwave grenades to create shockwave bows made this one of my most enjoyable, highest win rate seasons of all time. Give me a sec. If I go to Fortnite Tracker and I look up my account, I reckon my win rate in that season will be 25%. Let's say 22.6%. I was literally winning almost 1 in 4 games. And I was doing that while still being the same memeing idiot that I always am. And I'm pretty sure for the first few weeks of the season before they nerfed the primal shotgun, that win rate was at 35%. Now, I'm definitely not going to pretend like this was by any means a perfect season. A lot of the new items they added were pretty useless, and I'm even thinking about things as dumb as those mythic flying low gravity boots where you had to carry a ball from one of the spires all the way to the middle of the map, deposit it, and then you got this item which just sucked. But at the same time, I just had so much fun with the mechanical shockwave bow that I couldn't help but love so much about this season. I hated the wildlife. I especially hated the wolves. No one ever tamed animals. Almost all the bows were useless. The crafting system was annoying. Everyone hated having to sit there hitting cars for 10 minutes every round. This season has so much to hate about it. And believe me, if the mechanical shockwave bow wasn't in the game, I would be right there with you hating this season. But just that one item actually saved it for me, and it's gonna give it a C tier rating because of that. I can't put it quite up at B tier, but C tier, I feel like is fair. And all right, that brings us to Chapter 2, Season 7. And oh boy, you guys are gonna hate this one because this was without a doubt my favorite season, I think, ever of Fortnite. I think I put the most hours into playing the game. I think I had the most fun playing the game. And I feel like this season also was a really good follow-on from the shockwave bow for me, because at this stage, I was sick of people who spent all day in creative mode cranking on me. The shockwave bow let me blast through their builds, and this season, with the addition of the railgun and the scanner, I was able to shoot people through builds. Now, I got more highlight clips with this combo than I can even keep track of, but beyond that weapon combo, which I love, this season also came with things like the dropship that you could go into at the start of the round and play a sick mini game to try and get a whole bunch of amazing loot that you could fly back down with. We had the UFOs, which granted were way too powerful and definitely needed a cooldown on that gun, but they were also a really cool new vehicle. We got a bunch of new map changes. We got Rick and Morty. We got a freaking Ferrari. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, Epic gave us the Grabatron, one of the dumbest, most amazing weapons / items of all time. Basically, for me, this season was just the perfect balance between stupidity and fun. And again, I also have to give it huge bonus points purely for the railgun and literally nothing else. Chapter 2, Season 7 is going all the way up at the top of our list with Season 4. I hear people angrily typing comments right now, and I want you all to know, I don't care. All right, now it's time for the end of Chapter 2, which is obviously Chapter 2, Season 8. Now, this season was genuinely a huge roller coaster for me. I didn't really love many of the new POIs they introduced to the game. The giant crashed motherships were just a little bit weird to get around. The entire season also was almost ruined for me by one item, the Venom Mythic, which I still think was the dumbest thing Epic has ever done in all of Fortnite, as is pretty well summed up by this clip. Oh my god. See, again. No? Are you fuck? Like, bro. I'm done. I'm actually done. I'm refusing to play Fortnite. This guy didn't land, other than when he shot me when I was in the boat. This guy didn't land a single shot on me. He did not land a single shot. There was no time during that whole process where I could have healed. The only solution was potentially to run. And even then, he probably would have just grabbed the launch pad, chased me, and then we end up in this exact same spot. Now, honestly, if I think about most of the things we got this season, my reaction is pretty well summed up by meh. The corrupted zones were, I mean, good that they kept zombies in one area for once, but also they were kind of meh. The new sideways rifle, the sideways minigun, again, meh. The only addition that I think I did love this season was the armored wall, which, I mean, obviously has just led to so much fun since then. But otherwise, again, I just didn't love this season at all. But at the same time, I can't really say that I hated it. I think I'm just gonna put Chapter 2 Season 8 down at D tier, which, trust me, I don't love doing. Because I want to say that the end of Chapter 2 is this crazy finale, but for me, it was just kind of all right. But all right, now we're coming in on Chapter 3 Season 1. And my God, did I love this season. Now, is that almost entirely because of the Spider-Man mythics being in the game and them objectively being the single most amazing way to move around the map ever? Yes, probably. That is the reason, but I don't care. We got a brand new map. We got tilted towers back. We got a whole new sliding mechanic. The Mark 7 got added into the game. Our first ever, first-person assault rifle. It was just sick. And again, did I mention, we got Spider-Man mythics. Honestly, I really enjoyed this Chapter 3 map a lot more than I did the Chapter 2 one when we first started. And while there weren't too many completely insane things added to the game, again, having such amazing mobility around the map for the entire season, having the ability to explore an entire new map, and unlike Chapter 2 Season 1, having it last for a much more normal amount of time made this a seriously enjoyable season for me. I'm gonna be putting this one all the way up at B tier. And that brings us to Chapter 3 Season 2. And while we've only been in it for a couple of weeks so far, I've already got to say I am absolutely loving this season. Now, obviously them removing building from the game is a pretty big twist, but I feel like this was such a good, refreshing change for Fortnite. And the fact that we're now going to have the ability to choose between both modes, I feel like makes it pretty much objectively just an amazing, genius thing for Epic to have done. We've got such fun items and vehicles added to the game. We got tanks, we got repair tools, we got giant battle buses. And also I feel like this is the season more than any other where I'm feeling the most invested in the story. There's nothing crazy complicated. It is a simple battle between the IO and the 7. And I'm all for it. So I'm going to be putting Chapter 3 Season 2 up at B tier as well. And I hope that it stays that way, or maybe even goes up as the season continues. But guys, this is my tier list of the Fortnite seasons. Let me know in the comments down below what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Obviously, I'm biased. I've got my own opinions. Everyone's got things that they love and don't love that's personal to their taste. And I'd actually love to hear what you guys reckon. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you legends in the next one. Bye-bye.